I am standing in my mother-in-law's grand dining room, my hands shaking so hard I have to hide them under the mahogany table. I am staring at my husband, Julian, while he laughs at a joke his brother just made. He laughs like the world is perfect, while my entire reality is crumbling into dust. We are mid-meal, the smell of roasted lamb heavy in the air, but I feel like I am suffocating. Suddenly, his mother, Beatrice, taps her crystal glass with a silver spoon. The ringing sound cuts through the room like a blade. She stands up, smoothing her silk dress, and looks at the guests with a practiced, sweet smile. She announces to the entire table that I have been going through a difficult time, and that I imagined my pregnancy. My heart stops beating for a second. She waves a printed medical document in the air, her eyes glinting with a cold triumph. The doctor confirmed it this morning, she says, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. There is no baby. Our poor girl is just overwhelmed and confused lately. Julian doesn't protest. Instead, he reaches over and squeezes her hand, providing her comfort instead of defending his own wife. I feel the room tilt and spin. I feel a cold sweat breaking out across my forehead as the guests begin to whisper and cast pitying glances my way. I can hear the soft thud of my own pulse in my ears. I find my voice, though it sounds small and distant, like it's coming from the bottom of a well. I saw the ultrasound, Beatrice. I whisper, my eyes stinging. I heard the heartbeat. It was real. The table goes silent, but it isn't a supportive silence. Julian finally looks at me, but there is no love in his gaze. He looks at me with a mixture of embarrassment and profound pity, the way one looks at a stray dog that won't stop barking at shadows. He looks at me like I am completely unstable. That is when Beatrice leans forward, her smile widening into something truly terrifying. Sweetheart, she says, her voice as smooth as oil. There was never a baby. You wanted it so badly that your mind created a fantasy. We just want you to get better. Everyone around the table nods in unison, like I am the problem that needs to be solved. At that moment, a chill ran down my spine. I realize they aren't just mistaken. They are hiding something. The drive home is a nightmare of silence. I wait until we are safely inside our car before I confront Julian. My voice is trembling with rage now. How could you let her say those things? You were there when I took the test. Julian keeps his eyes fixed on the road, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. He sighs, a long, weary sound that makes me feel like a burden. He tells me that he spoke directly to the clinic while I was resting. He claims they've confirmed that I suffered a silent miscarriage 2 weeks ago and that I simply haven't processed the trauma. I scream that I never had a miscarriage, but he just shakes his head. The next morning, I called the clinic myself, my breath hitching in my throat. The receptionist hesitates when she hears my name. She tells me something that makes my blood turn to ice. She says that I called 2 days ago to request strict privacy restrictions on my file. She says someone impersonating me over the phone provided all my personal details and password protected the account. I didn't set a password. Someone else is now the gatekeeper of my own medical body. I spend the rest of the afternoon trying to reset the clinic's online portal, my fingers flying across the laptop keys. Every time I click Forgot Password, a notification pops up saying a recovery link has been sent. But the email address on the screen is a blurred version of one I don't recognize. It isn't mine. I stare at the partial letters until the realization hits me like a physical blow. The recovery email ends in Vanderbilt, which is Beatrice's maiden name. I show this to Julian when he gets home, hoping for a spark of outrage, but he just brushes it off. He claims it must be a technical glitch, or a mistake by the hospital staff. His dismissal is too quick, too polished. That night, I waited until his breathing was deep and rhythmic beside me. I sneak into his home office, the floorboards creaking under my weight. I begin searching through his desk drawers, my heart hammering against my ribs. Tucked away at the very back of a locked filing cabinet, I find a manila folder. It is labeled with a single chilling word, contingency. My hands tremble as I pull it out into the moonlight. Inside the folder, I find a paper trail of a life I didn't know I was living. There are printed copies of my private bank statements from the last 3 months. Large withdrawals are circled in red ink with handwritten notes in the margins, unstable spending patterns, and evidence of manic episodes. I haven't been spending extra money. These are small transfers I made to my savings. There is also a glossy brochure for a high-end psychiatric evaluation center, a place that specializes in long-term residential care. The brochure is dated 3 days before that horrific dinner at Beatrice's house. I am so focused on the documents that I don't hear the door open. Suddenly, the overhead light flickers on, blinding me. Julian is standing in the doorway, his face shadowed. He doesn't look angry or guilty. He just looks disappointed. He doesn't deny the folder's contents. "We were worried about you," he says softly, stepping into the room. He uses that word again. We. It confirms my worst fear. My husband is no longer my partner. He is an operative working for his mother. I realize I am being hunted in my own home by the person I trusted most. The next morning, I didn't argue with Julian. I play the part of the confused, grieving wife. As soon as he leaves for work, I grab my purse and head to a different medical plaza across town. I use a burner phone I bought at a convenience store to call my OB/GYN directly. I bypass the main reception and ask for a private callback. When Dr. Holloway finally speaks to me, her voice is steady and professional. She confirms the truth. I am exactly 14 weeks pregnant. The baby has a healthy, strong heartbeat, and there are absolutely no complications. She sounds confused when I ask about a miscarriage or a file cancellation. She tells me that her office received a formal request to transfer my records to a private facility out of state, but she hadn't authorized it yet. Someone had tried to erase my pregnancy from the local records entirely. I sit in my car in the parking lot, crying tears of pure relief and white-hot fury. My baby is alive. The people I call family are trying to convince the world my child doesn't exist so they can put me away. I realize then that this isn't a misunderstanding. This is a war. I begin to dig deeper into the why. Why would they want to erase a child? I spend hours at the public records office, pretending to do research for a project. I finally uncovered a piece of the puzzle that Julian kept hidden for years. It turns out that Beatrice's lavish lifestyle is a complete facade. She is drowning in massive credit card debt and several failed property investments. More importantly, I find the details of my late father-in-law's will. There is a specific clause stating that if Julian and I have a child, the bulk of our shared family inheritance, nearly $4 million, is legally required to be placed into a locked educational trust. This money would be under the control of an independent trustee until the child turns 18. If we remain childless, the money stays in a general account that Beatrice has partial access to as a consultant. Suddenly, the gaslighting makes perfect sense. To Beatrice, my baby isn't a grandchild. It's a financial wall that will cut off her air supply. To keep her luxury life, she needs me to be crazy, and the baby to be a delusion. They are willing to break my mind to save their bank accounts. The gaslighting at home starts to escalate. Every time I mention feeling a kick or being hungry, Julian sighs and looks at his watch. He suggests that we see a specialist, but not a doctor for the baby. He wants me to see a psychiatrist. He hands me a business card, and my stomach turns when I see the name. It is the same doctor from the contingency folder I found in his office. He tells me that my pregnancy delusion is causing Beatrice so much stress that her blood pressure is rising. He is trying to make me feel guilty for her fake health problems. I look him straight in the eyes, my voice cold and flat. If I go to this doctor and I prove that I am actually pregnant, what happens then, Julian? Will you apologize? He doesn't answer. He just looks away and tells me that he's made the appointment for Friday. He acts like my reality is a disease he is trying to cure. I realize that I cannot argue my way out of this trap. I have to play their game better than they do while I plan my escape. I realize that I need proof. I bought a high-quality voice recorder that looks like a common USB drive and hid it in the kitchen. I also start using a recording app on my phone whenever Beatrice comes over. One rainy Tuesday night, I get exactly what I need. I am upstairs, pretending to nap, while Julian and his mother are in the kitchen. I can hear the murmur of their voices through the vent. I turn on the receiver in my room. Beatrice's voice is a sharp whisper. If she truly believes she lost the baby, she'll stop asking questions and we can get her into the facility quietly, she says. The paperwork is almost ready. Julian's voice is quieter, hesitating for a fraction of a second before he replies. It's only temporary, Mother. Once she's stabilized and the trust issues are settled, we can bring her home. He sounds like he is trying to convince himself as much as her. They aren't just lying, they are planning to legally kidnap me and hold me in a psychiatric ward until they can secure the money. My own husband is willing to let me be drugged and locked away for a paycheck. I take my recordings and my medical files to a lawyer named Alicia, whom I meet in a quiet coffee shop on the edge of the city. Alicia is sharp and doesn't sugarcoat the situation. She spends 3 days investigating and comes back with a bombshell that makes me want to scream. She discovers that Julian has already started the process of filing for emergency guardianship over me. He is claiming that I am a danger to myself due to a psychotic break related to a phantom pregnancy. The petitioner is Julian, but the co-signer is Beatrice. They have even found a doctor willing to sign off on a preliminary observation based on family testimony. They weren't just waiting for me to get better, they were building a legal cage around me. They wanted to take full control of my finances, my body, and my child. Alicia tells me that if I run now, they will use it as proof that I am unstable. I have to stay. I have to wait for the right moment to strike back. I have to be the perfect, obedient wife until the trap is set for them instead. I decided to pivot. I stop fighting them. I sit Julian down and tell him, with fake tears in my eyes, that I think he might be right. I tell him that the fog is clearing, and that I must have been confused by the grief of a miscarriage. I see the visible relief wash over his face. He calls Beatrice immediately to tell her the good news. She comes over that evening and actually hugs me, her perfume smelling like expensive lilies and rot. I feel disgusted, but I smile back. I tell them that I want to move forward and be a real family again. To celebrate my recovery, I suggest we host a large family dinner. I tell them I want to invite the extended family, his aunts, his business partner, and his cousins, to clear the air about my recent behavior. I say I want to apologize to everyone publicly so we can put the delusion behind us. Beatrice is thrilled. She thinks she has finally broken my spirit and secured her fortune. She doesn't realize that I am inviting the very people who will witness her downfall. I am setting the stage for a performance they will never forget. The night of the dinner arrives. The house is full of people. I see Julian's business partner, Marcus, chatting in the corner. I see the aunts who looked at me with pity just weeks ago. Julian looks nervous, his eyes darting around the room, but Beatrice looks smug. She is wearing a new diamond necklace, likely bought on credit she expects to pay off with the inheritance money. I am wearing a loose-fitting dress that hides my growing bump perfectly. I am the picture of a submissive, recovering wife. I've spent the last week coordinating with Alicia and Dr. Holloway. They are waiting in their cars just down the street, ready for my signal. I have also spent the afternoon setting up the entertainment for the evening. I've connected my phone to the large smart TV in the dining room, pretending it's for a slideshow of old family photos. My heart is pounding, but my mind is clear. I wait until the main course is served and everyone has a full glass of wine. This is the moment. The silence of the room feels like the air before a lightning strike. Beatrice stands up to make a toast. She raises her glass and looks at me with that fake, maternal warmth. To heal, she says loudly. And to our dear girl for finding her way back to us. We are so glad the confusion is over. She starts to sit down, but I stand up before she can. Wait, I say, my voice ringing out clearly. I have something to show everyone. A little tribute to the truth we've all been talking about. I pick up the remote and hit play. But instead of photos, Beatrice's voice fills the room, amplified by the surround sound speakers. It's a recording from the kitchen. If she believes she lost it, she'll stop asking questions and we can get her into the facility quietly. The room goes deathly silent. People stop chewing. Beatrice's glass hits the table with a dull thud, wine spilling like blood across the white cloth. Her face turns a sickly shade of grey. I look at Julian. He is staring at the screen, his mouth hanging open. The recording continues, playing Julian's agreement to lock me away. The betrayal is laid bare for every witness in the room to hear. I won't stop there. I swiped the screen, and the latest ultrasound video appeared on the 65-inch display. The sound of a fast, rhythmic thump-thump fills the dining room. It is the unmistakable sound of a healthy human heartbeat. The image is crystal clear, the tiny head, the flickering limbs of my 14-week-old baby. The guests gasp, some of the aunts covering their mouths in shock. Right on cue, the front door opens. Dr. Holloway walks in, dressed in her professional attire, followed by Alicia, who is carrying a briefcase. Dr. Holloway walks straight to the head of the table. I am the patient's primary physician, she announces to the room. I can confirm that she is very much pregnant, and there has never been any medical evidence of a miscarriage. Any documents stating otherwise are fraudulent. Julian looks like he's about to faint. He tries to speak, but his voice is a strangled croak. Alicia steps forward next, her eyes locking onto Julian's. My name is Alicia Vance, and I am her legal counsel. We have already filed a report for identity fraud and medical interference. The crazy wife is gone. Only the hunter remains. The dinner collapses into absolute chaos. Marcus, Julian's business partner, looks at Julian with pure disgust and walks out without a word. The aunts are whispering loudly about Beatrice's cruelty. Alicia calmly informs them that she has already filed paperwork to freeze our shared accounts to prevent any more contingency spending. She also hands Julian a set of papers, a formal filing for divorce and a petition for full custody based on parental endangerment. Beatrice starts to scream, a shrill, desperate sound. She yells that I've ruined the family, and that I'm a snake. I just look at her and feel nothing but pity. Julian whispers, "You set us up. How could you do this to your husband?" I lean in close so only he can hear me. "No, Julian. You tried to erase me and our child for a check. I just made sure the world saw who you really are." I tell him that I've already secured a job in another city and signed a lease. I am leaving tonight. As I walk out the door with my head held high, I feel the weight of their lies falling away. I am powerful. I am a mother. And I am finally free.